Understanding Trade Wars, an Indian Guide to a Global Issue. Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about something you often hear in the news, trade wars. It sounds like big, complex topic, but we will break it down with simple examples and numbers that connect to our lives here in India. First of all, let us understand what is trade and why it's a big deal for India. What is trade? Trade between countries is like buying and selling things with your friends, but on a much larger scale. Example, you might be using a mobile phone made in South Korea or China. At the same time, India is famous for selling things like spices, our delicious basmati rice, medicines, and software services to the whole world. This buying and selling is international trade. How important is trade for India and the US? The relationship between India and the US is very strong. In fact, for the last few years, the USA has been India's largest trading partner. The total trade between our two countries is huge. For the financial year 2024-25, the total value of goods and services we traded was over $130 billion. The problem of imbalance, trade deficit versus trade surplus. What is trade deficit? A trade deficit happens when a country buys more, that is, it imports more from another country than it sells to, that is, exports. This means more money is going out than coming in. For example, India has had a big trade deficit with China. We buy a lot of Chinese goods like electronics, toys, and machinery. But China buys fewer things from us. This means India pays more money to China than it gets from them. What is a trade surplus? A trade surplus is when a country sells more to another country than it buys from. This means more money is coming in than going out. The example is the India-US story. India has a trade surplus with the USA. For the year 2024-25, India's trade surplus with the US was over $40 billion. This means we sell much more to the US than we buy from them. President Trump's views. When Donald Trump was the US president, he saw that America had a very large trade deficit with world, especially with China. He believed this was unfair and was hurting American companies and jobs. His policy was America first, to protect American business. The weapon of a trade war, duties and taxes. What is a tariff? A tariff is a type of tax that a country puts on goods that are imported from another country. Think of it as an entry fee for foreign products. How does it work? Let's say a mobile phone made in China costs rupees 10,000. If the Indian government wants to support Indian phone companies, it might put a 20% tariff or tax on the Chinese phones. This entry fee of rupees 2,000 is added to the price, making the phone cost rupees 12,000 in India. This makes Indian-made phones seem cheaper and more attractive. Trump's strategy. To fix the US trade deficit, President Trump started putting heavy tariffs on goods coming into the US, especially from China. He put tariffs on steel, aluminium, and thousands of other products. India's role and the impact of the trade war. India-US trade in numbers. What India sells to the US. Some of the top things we export to America include medicines, telecom, instruments, diamonds, and jewelry, and petroleum products. What India buys from the US. Some of the main things we import from America are crude oil, coal, and aircraft parts. How India got involved in this? The steel and aluminium issue. The Trump administration put tariffs of 25% on steel and on 10% on aluminium. These tariffs were not just for China, they affected India too. This made it more expensive for Indian companies to sell steel in America. India's reaction. In response, India also put its own tariffs on 28 American products. This is why you might have heard that the prices of American apples, almonds, and walnuts went up in India. Removal of a special discount, the GSP. For many years, India got a special benefit from the US called the GSP, Generalized System of Preferences. Now, what is a GSP? It was like a special discount that allowed many Indian products to enter the US market with zero tax. This helped our Indian exporters a lot. In 2019, the Trump administration removed India from this GSP list, which created a challenge for many Indian businesses. The Indian perspective: protecting our own. Just like America, India also wants to protect its own industries and especially its farmers. The government's goal is to support Make in India and become more self reliant. A balancing act. The USA is our biggest trading partner. We have good relations and a strong economic partnership. So India has to balance its actions carefully, standing up for our businesses without starting an all out fight. Impact on us. When countries impose tariffs, goods can become more expensive for everyone. For example, if the US puts tariff on Chinese goods, American companies might look to buy more from India instead. Now that would be a very good opportunity. Conclusion: who wins a trade war? A trade war is when countries use tariffs and other barriers to fight each other over trade policies. President Trump started these to protect American industries. While India has a healthy trade surplus with USA, we were still affected by some of these policies. There is often no clear winner in a trade war. It's a complex situation where India has to be very smart to protect its own economic interest while also being a strong and reliable partner on the world stage. Thank you.